Reality star turned TV and radio host Jamie Laing is urging people to speak out on today, which is World Mental Health Day.
Yeah, 1 in 4 of us experience a mental health problem every year. Jamie has been dealing with anxiety since he was in his 20s, but he says there's never been a better opportunity to get talking about how you're feeling, and he joins us now. Very good morning to you.
Morning, how are you guys?
Really, really important for men in particular to open up, because mental health problems are a massive killer of men under 50. Suicide, the biggest killer of men under 50.
Yeah, it is. And look, I think it's really important for everyone to talk out about mental health. And, you know, if I sort of personalise it on myself, you know, I hid anxiety for many years. So I had the typical thing which lots of people have, is a panic attack at, you know, early age of 20, didn't know what it was, thought I was dying, took myself to hospital, and then just hid it for many years.
Can you describe what a panic attack feels like?
Well, I think it's quite individual to everyone, but in my experience, it's a heightened sense of you feel like you're going to die. I thought I was having a heart attack. It feels like your body is taking over you, and the adrenaline is going through the roof because you're hyperventilating and doing these kind of things. And so
your chest gets tight.
You feel dizzy. You feel like you're fainting. And I took myself to hospital. They said, you're having a panic attack. Don't worry, go home. I went home, and that was the day that my life changed. And I had anxiety that I didn't know what it was, didn't understand it, never spoke out about it.
Why did you feel that you couldn't talk about it?
Well, truthfully, because I was, at the time, I was ashamed of it, because I didn't understand what it was. I just wanted it to go. And it was there for many years until I spoke to a really great friend of mine, who was best man at my wedding, a guy called Toby. And I said to him, I finally phoned him up, and I got very emotional on the phone. I said, Toby, something's wrong with me. And I was scared what he was going to say. And he said, don't worry, Jamie, we'll go through it together. And it was this echo back, which was incredible. And I suddenly realised that all these years that I'd been holding it in, why hadn't I spoken out about it? And today is a prime example of an amazing day that if you have a friend, a neighbour, a loved one, a sibling, an aunt, an uncle, someone who you haven't spoken to or you feel is maybe potentially struggling, talk to them, speak to them, because the easiest solution to helping yourself is speaking about it. And it's so, so, so important.
And I think you've identified something very interesting, which is that you found it difficult even to talk to your girlfriend about it, now your wife, Sophie.
Yeah.
And you said, I don't want to discuss it openly because it's not sexy. You want to be the man, capital letters. You want to be strong. But she said something so crucial that enabled you to open up about it to her and feel safe.
Well, I think it's one of these things that you do, especially if you're in a new relationship or a new school or a new friendship or whatever it is, and you kind of do. You want to be cool and fun and sexy, and when you're suffering, in which I was, the sort of beginning of lockdown, I was just in this new relationship with my wife. I didn't want to tell her, and she said to me, it was so amazing. She said, well, if you had a broken leg, I'd be by your bedside. If you were sick, I'd be there.
Yeah.
So you're not feeling well at the moment. It's okay. I don't mind one bit. I love you. You're going to be absolutely fine, and we're going to get through this again together. And it's, again, one of those things I went, just talking about it really, really helps. And for men in particular who just don't open up, and it's really just important.
I was at the football on Saturday, Norwich City. Our club has done some brilliant work around mental health and did a brilliant video about 2 guys in the stand. And it turned out that the guy who looked like he was fine was actually the guy who was very, very down, and very powerful. But there was a minute before the game at 12:30 on Saturday where we were all told to say hello to the strangers near you and just say, how are you? To try and get, in this case, 27,000 people to speak to people that they didn't normally speak to say, are you OK? To try and get us into that habit. Because the truth is, for men in their 30s, 40s, 50s, it's not just not being comfortable like you weren't to talk about your kind of problem, but also for everybody else to sort of think, well, if I say, are you OK? Am I being intrusive? Am I asking the wrong thing? And it's as much about all the rest of us reaching out as it is about people who are under pressure feeling that they can talk to somebody.
It's exactly that. You know, it's so important to be kind. And I have a podcast called Great Company, and I'm an ambassador for Calm. And the reason why I did those things is because I found it much easier to talk to strangers about what I was dealing with, because it was almost too personal to talk to friends. And so what I really try and do is that when people send me messages or I speak to people on a podcast, whatever it is, I'm able to talk to them about their own sort of feelings and my sort of feelings, and it kind of sort of really helps. Talking to strangers really... And Norwich City are doing an incredible job with that. Yeah, they articulate it so well. It's amazing.
But it's I mean, what advice, to our viewers, what advice do you give to people about how you kind of open up the conversation if you're worried about somebody?
Well, I think you have to take... The really hard thing, which I had, which is someone said to me, you have to accept that you have anxiety, depression, OCD, whatever it is. And once you accept it, that's the road to recovery. The hardest thing is to accept it. So it's kind of it's catch-22. But once you do and you start realising that you're OK, you're fine, that this is going to be all right and you're going to get through it...
But if I'm worried that you might not have accepted it yet, I worry that if I say, are you OK, am I somehow intruding? Am I going to upset you?
I think the real reason is keep knocking on the door. If you keep knocking the door, it will eventually open. And you've got to do that. And people are afraid, they're scared, they don't want to open up. But if you feel like, I don't know, someone you love or someone in your circle is closed up, please, I just beg you to go and speak to them. Because
keep knocking on the door.
Keep knocking. Keep knocking. Are you OK? Are there a message? Just keep checking in every single time. Because at some point, they will back down. They'll say, do you know what, I'm not feeling OK.
And what's the thing that makes you feel better? When you're having an anxiety attack, a panic attack?
Well, it's really tricky. I think meditation really helps. Exercise is massively key. I think that is important. But fundamentally, and I'm in a very fortunate position where I started doing therapy. And I understand that therapy is a really tricky scenario and a tough conversation because the NHS is tricky and all these different stuff. But I think therapy is fundamentally one of the greatest things, not only for self-awareness, but also just to discuss what you're feeling and really helps.
And do you find coming on here and talking about it, does that help you?
Yeah, it really does. And I'm really passionate about it because I think that people really don't... If you haven't experienced it, you don't understand it. And so hopefully, if we're discussing it here, it makes it important. I really think it is.
What a difference you're making. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Really, really important.
David Laing, thank you so much. If you're affected by that issue, or indeed any of the issues we discussed on the programme, there's advice and support, itv.com/helplines.